is the moment.
The Bachelorette is back. And the power
I'm gonna fall in love.
is in Jen's hands.
And I'm gonna do it my way.
ABC tonight.
Everything about her is great.
I feel so special.
Jen's looking like a queen.
My men are very, very hot.
Someone call 911. You are looking so fired.
This is the beginning of a new era.
The Bachelorette. All new tonight, 8/7 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
Savaged, unfiltered.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Savage Unfiltered. I'm your host, Michael Gardner. Joining us today is our co-host, Soslin Timison. And today, guys, we are joined by a regular here on the show, Joseph M. Leonard, the the author. What am I saying, host? The author of Terror Strikes, coming to a city near you. Welcome, Joseph. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, my friend. Love you, brother.
Yeah, I love you too, man. It's been a while since we've had you on, right? About almost, I guess, a month, right? But
yeah,
it's
so I'm not a regular. I'm a semi-regular. But
yeah, you're a part-timer, Joseph.
I'm trying to get more fiber so I can be regular.
Yeah.
Hey, prune juice doesn't work. Prune juice. You need to get more prune juice.
Yeah.
So Joseph, I want to introduce you to the legendary Soslin Timison here from Savage Unfiltered. I know it's been a while since you've been trying to meet him and introduce yourself to him, but this is the Soslin. So you guys can say hi if you'd like. Or
Hey, Joseph, how's it going?
Going pretty good. How about with you? But like I say in my book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Remember, it could always be better, but it could often be worse.
Well, I say,
yeah.
Well, ain't that the truth? I'd say that in this day and age, it's like that. It's like communism, for instance. Communism could be at your front door at any time, and it all creeps in, right? And it all depends on us when we creep it in. So it could be at our front steps, and it is at our front steps. So now all we have to do is prepare for it and get ready for what is to come. Like President Trump said, dark days are ahead to come.
Yeah. Guys, before we kick off the show, I want to allow the listeners, I want to apologize on behalf of the show, myself here in Soslin. Guys, we were supposed to be joined by Robert Relf, which is the candidate that was running for senator, state senate of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Guys, he had to literally excuse himself from the show last minute. We got this information about roughly about 3 hours ago, folks. And sadly, Robert Relf will not be joining us here on the show. We hope to see Robert Relf in the near future here on the show, but he will not be joining us on the show, unfortunately. I know Joseph was probably looking forward to meeting him and, pretty much picking his brain on politics. But unfortunately, that will not happen tonight. Joseph, I do apologize, sir.
Oh, that's quite all right. And also, we are still on Rumble, but audio only, right?
Yes. What we're going to do, Joseph, is, after this broadcast is over, I do have the magic into bringing this into a semi audio / video broadcast with the magic of editing. So, yes, this will be formatted into Rumble shortly after this. Yes, sir.
Hey, Mike, can I just develop some breaking news? So literally
go ahead. The floor is yours, Sauce. Go ahead.
Literally right outside my house, there were shootings. 3 shots were fired right outside my house.
Oh, boy.
And this is right outside of Madison, right?
Literally right outside my doorstep. Yep. This is just break. I heard those 3 noises. I don't know if you could hear them faint, but they just happened like seconds ago.
So
wow.
We should be hearing sirens through your feed very soon, huh?
Well, we have the Equality Police in Madison.
Yeah, Sauce. Yeah, tell them about the Equality Police. Joseph, we just did an episode a couple days ago on
Road
the
rage.
pride of Madison, Wisconsin, and road rage. Yeah.
So you want to talk about, you want to live the Wild West? Just go to Madison, Wisconsin. You might want to bring everything, all the gear with you, because it's like you don't know if it's going to be your last day or not. I sent Michael like my whole tactical gear. I sent him like a picture a long time ago. What it's going to be like on Mother's Day. And Michael's like, what, are you going to the military again? And I'm like, no, this is to prepare myself because we don't have any city police because we defunded our city police. So all we have is Equality Police, which is the Pride, so the Alphabet People Police. So they go after minorities and they help them out and like through counseling and stuff. So if it's just like you and I, your average Joe, guess we're out of luck.
Yeah. And Soslin, that fits the title tonight. We're calling this episode America in Decline. And I think that fits the title very, very accurately. Joseph, you got any thoughts on what we're talking about tonight?
Well, I just wanted to address the slur. My name may be Joe, but I'm certainly not average.
Right.
Got to keep a sense of humor these days, right, guys?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, like, either way, I sent Michael like the pictures of our police cars, and they're not your police cars anymore. They're like all rainbow police cars. It's really sad, actually. It's like we become a clown. We become a clown car. And, we talked about perfect instance when my car got like ripped off by a rearview mirror. I called the police department and nobody came. And this goes along with my dad has a church in our city. And you look at the perfect example, okay? We had a fight at a funeral, and you know what the response time was from our county sheriffs? Joseph.
What was probably 25 minutes?
2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Michael?
You said 2.5 hours?
Yeah, 2.5 hours. While my dad, we had to apprehend them in church, and we had to hold them detained for 2.5 hours at our church. How embarrassing is that?
Yeah, very embarrassing. Did they have a bottle of water when they got there?
Oh, well, they gave the sheriff's department came and stuff, and they gave them blankets because the guy was afraid. So they gave him blankets to make sure he was okay.
Yeah, he was terrified, I'm sure. Yeah.
But literally, this is, I don't know if you know this, Joseph, but in the coming weeks, you're going to be tuned for special episodes because Michael and I are going to be going to Florida. Well, I'm going to be going to Florida with him to the Freedom State, to what America could be like, but it's not, sadly. Well, Florida is, but not Wisconsin. Wisconsin's Russia 2.0,
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Joseph knows that, Soslin. Joseph, you do know that I happen to reside now in the Sunshine State. I had moved away from Atlanta, Georgia, and Florida is now my home.
Oh no, I hadn't heard that yet. And
Yeah,
Florida,
yes, sir.
Florida's a very unique and wonderful place because, being the amusement, kind of one of the amusement capitals of the world, having all the, having Disney and Busch Gardens there and the Universal and, of course, all that beachfront resort property, you guys get to live off of sales tax, which allows you to keep the other taxes nil or low, which is a great thing. Most other states don't have that fortune, and that's just kind of the blessing that Florida has. But that, of course, alone doesn't make for the great state. Liberals, if they were allowed to control Florida, would, of course, destroy it like they have in New York and California. Look at all the benefits California has regarding weather and everything, but yet they've turned that into a shit state.
Yeah. Well, the initial decision behind me moving to Florida was basically for opportunity. I do other lines of work besides the podcasting, I moved here. I transferred with the company that I work with, which I won't say on the air, to protect my privacy and all that. But that was the big decision. I moved here for better opportunity and a better lifestyle. The air quality here is gorgeous. It's a little hot right now. It's about between 90 to 100 degrees every single day. It's so hot here, Joseph. You could probably fry an egg on the side of the roadway here. It's that hot. But it's nice. The water's like the ocean water is like bath water. You go in the ocean right now, it's like stepping into a sauna.
Yeah, I have been in Florida. I went to a trade school in North Miami Beach for airline education, but that didn't work out well because that was during Reagan, and then the whole Patco strike happened. But that's kind of another story. But so I've been in North Miami Beach in July, so yeah, I know what it can be like there. I like the northern area better. I also used to be a Kmart headquarter IT guy, and
oh wow,
I was in Ocala because we used to have a warehouse there in Ocala. I really like that area. It's a little
Ocala,
it's
yeah,
a little north, right?
Hey,
yeah.
Quick question: have you guys ever been up to Pensacola?
Oh, that's over the Panhandle. Pensacola is a beautiful area, especially over there near. What the hell is that? Over, it's like it literally hugs the Alabama coastline. Very beautiful terrain over there.
Yeah, it's got one of the whitest beaches you'll ever see. To me, when I was on President Trump campaign, I swung by Pensacola for a political for his rally and stuff. Oh man, was it beautiful! I was like, I took sand with me to go home with. I'm surprised I could get away with that on the plane, but it was just beautiful. Like that sand is so soft. I'm like, man, I have to come back and visit again.
Yeah. The sand it's almost like powder sauce.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the West Coast, if you headed over towards like Sarasota, Clearwater Beach over there, I mean, it's literally so soft. You really don't need flip-flops or sandals to walk on that sand.
No. It's like
walking on marshmallows, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to the Panhandle area, but to your former state, I've been to the Noonan area there, and went into Atlanta while I was there. Also, was a warehouse for Kmart there that I was there helping with equipment installation. So yeah, I've been to both those states, but not all of the parts of that state, obviously.
Joseph, I actually liked Georgia at one time, but quite recently, I've lost a lot of respect for the state. I mean, it's going so liberal right now. It's going so left. Atlanta is like literally out of control. Atlanta, believe it or not, in the 90s, during the Olympics and everything, used to be such a beautiful city. Now it's just it's being overtaken by crime and homeless and I mean litter. It's out of control. It really is.
Yeah, I would not consider moving to Georgia either for the very same things you're saying. And yeah, when I was down there, I did go into Atlanta. I went in. I was down there one time, and I got to go into Atlanta to see a Thrashers game.
But Joseph, do you know who we can thank for that situation, though? On the other hand, we can thank this current administration for their handling of crime and how they do such a wonderful job that they're giving more criminals more rights than your average Joe American. It's that whole policy that Vladimir Putin does a great job is putting the government first before we put anybody else second. It's really sick, and it's like they have ruined every single city. For instance, today. I was just reading through an article literally moments ago before we got on the show. The Seattle mayor officially declared that it's a snowflake sanctuary city. So, for instance, if you feel like you're being persecuted or something like that, you can officially go to Seattle and they'll provide drugs for you and they'll provide free housing and stuff. I mean, you want to talk about going down the tube, Seattle. I mean, Seattle used to be a beautiful city, and now it's just absolutely garbage.
Yeah, it's turning into San Francisco. But
Yep.
yeah, back to Georgia. Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't unseat Rhino Kemp in that primary. But yeah, the biggest part of the problem are Kemp and Roethlisberger in Georgia.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
do you
the turncoat. Yeah, the big turncoat, Joseph. That's what he is.
But do you
Yep.
think that's okay, Joseph? In regards to that, do you think that Kemp will go away from being a Rhino to somewhat being a Republican because he's getting more and more of a push, or not really?
Well, that would be nice, but I certainly wouldn't bank on it. You know, the old leopard changing his spots kind of thing. But I mean, we can hope. I mean, a lot of people were concerned about Trump taking office because he was a New York liberal up to that point, and would he really govern conservatively or not? And the people kind of helped push him to the right. So, I mean, there's that chance. I would hope that Kemp would finally be sick and tired of trying to play kissy face with Stacey Abrams and see how the left has just been using him and come to his senses. I fear he's not smart enough to do that, but you know, let's keep hope alive, right?
Well, it's like Liz Cheney. Like, as tonight, the polls are going to close in Wyoming. All right, I'm going to keep a close eye on the polls in Wyoming. I bet Liz Cheney, this better be her last election, which it is. All right, because she pulled the same exact card of being all like Rhino. And you can see that President Trump has a huge persuasion on getting down to the patriotic core. For instance, you also look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin just had their primary last week. All right, Rebecca Clayfish was endorsed by Mike Pence, Ted Cruz, Scott Walker, Paul Ryan, all these rhinos, and some Democrats. And what happens? You had Tim Michels ran for governor, and he won the Wisconsin primary by a landslide. And so did Roger Roth. All those candidates were Trump-endorsed candidates. So you see that people are slowly waking up. But like, for instance, Georgia and stuff, I don't know what happened to Georgia. It must be Atlanta. But I also did hear this, though. I heard that in Atlanta, people like registered Democrats registered as Republicans to keep Brian Kemp in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, you know, I've seen that come out, Sauce. That's one of the reasons why I left the area of Atlanta, because I seen the shift in politics go on in the city. And you know, you mentioned Liz Cheney. Did anybody happen to see the latest commercial come out with Liz Cheney's father? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's called desperate. That's called getting on your knees. She's willing to get on her knees and blow her father off.
He's literally bashing Trump, literally saying that, you know, please show support for Liz Cheney, reelect Liz Cheney, and this and that. I mean, like Sauce says, desperation calls for great measures.
Well, I would take a little issue with what Sauce says. I think he's being a little loose with the Rhino term. Now, I wouldn't call Rebecca a Rhino. I thought she was a good LG. I myself personally endorsed Michael, so I'm certainly glad he won. But Wisconsin was one of the examples, and I was in discussions all over social media about that, where I didn't think we lost either way. Even if Michaels would have lost to Clayfish, I think it would have been good. Scott Walker was the best governor Wisconsin's ever had. She was his LG. I think she would have been a great candidate too. And as far as like Liz Cheney goes, again, the term Rhino is an issue because she voted with Trump 90% of the time. But of course, voting record isn't everything. There are other factors. So usually the rhino term applies based on voting record, but in Liz Cheney's case, just like Mitt Rhino me, as I call them, they're more concerned about themselves and their family than the American people. So we almost need another term other than rhino, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Sauce.
Well, what about? Well, the whole thing is that you look at it and stuff, and I don't. So there's a lot of things that are coming out between Liz Cheney and stuff these past couple of days. I heard that she is switching to being a Democrat. That's one thing that I heard, that she switched. But I don't know if it is or not. I think it's too late. But at this point, you have Mitt Romney, which I don't know how he survived. Well, he's not up for re-election, is he?
Next cycle, we got to replace.
He's going to be out. He's going to be out of Utah because Utah bleeds red, white, and blue. But the only city in Utah that will change or be a huge dynamic thing is Salt Lake City, which is a big problem.
Right.
Well, Sauce, let's go over to Joseph's neighborhood there. Joseph, what's going on with the politics there in Michigan or Detroit area?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up because we've got Glenn Youngkin coming in this coming weekend to stump for Tudor Dixon. So,
yes. What do you think about that?
That's great. That's great. And then, because that's, again, why I challenged your use of rhino, because we got a lot of people in Michigan who just got off their couch yesterday, but they think they're experts at everything because they watched Hannity while they were staying at a Holiday Inn Express, as the old joke goes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're experts, and they were trying to call Tudor Dixon a rhino. I mean, in an establishment hack. I mean, give me a break. Now, granted, DeVos did endorse Tudor, and we all have our problems with the DeVos families.
Joseph, we could start calling them Tutti Frutti Banana Smoothie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think things are, and again, we're going to talk about Mar-a-Lago, right? So
yeah, I want to get into that in a little bit here before Sauce departs, because Sauce has about roughly about another 14, 15 minutes before he departs.
Yeah,
I want to get into Mar-a-Lago in a little bit, but I want to get more into Detroit. Like, where do you see Detroit going into, Joseph? Do you see it staying Democrat, Republican? Like, where do you see it going?
Well, I see it staying very blue, but I want to mention this about Michigan. I mentioned the Mar-a-Lago thing. We'll talk about the stats when we get into that. But
right,
people, Michigan is odd. We may have a red wave coming, but Michigan is a really weird state. In my entire lifetime, no governor, including idiot not Gretchen Whitler, she's there now. I mean, Jennifer Granholm, who is the current Department of Energy idiot from the Biden administration. She was former governor, and 10 million people left, or 1 million people left the state of Michigan during her term because she was so bad, but yet she won re-election. No one in my 60 years of life that has been a governor and been on the ballot for re-election. We have term limits. You can be term limited out, but no governor who's qualified for the ballot has ever lost re-election in my lifetime, no matter how bad like Granholm was. So yeah. Michigan is odd. So red wave nationwide means nothing for Michigan. We have to work 10 times harder because Michigan is weird. We also go cyclical. A Democrat governor, a Republican governor, a Democrat governor, a Republican. We are always flip-flopping back and forth.
Yeah.
So you're like your ex-girlfriend, huh?
Yeah. Hold that thought. Hold that thought, Soslin.
Okay.
Hold that thought, Joseph. Guys, what you are hearing right now is the voice of terror strikes coming to a city near you, Joseph M. Leonard. Guys, this guy is full of politics, as you can see, talking. I mean, the man can probably carry a conversation about politics for like 6-7 hours. I wish I had that time with him on the show because literally, I mean, he can create one episode into 7 episodes. I mean, the man is full of politics. But guys, before we get into this next segment, excuse me, I want to get a quick break in here, guys. We are going to do this episode ad-free, but I have to get a quick ad in. I'm kind of being a little hypocrite here, but I do have to get a quick ad in because that's what keeps the show in. But we are doing commercial-free. That's what I was going at, commercial-free. But we are going to get a quick ad in. Guys, this show today is sponsored by Live Rishi. I always show the support to Live Rishi, whether it's on our audio or our video podcasting, guys. Live Rishi is a CBD hemp oil company. If you head over to liverishi.com, use that promo code Savage Unfiltered. We're going to give you 20% off your order. That's right, guys, 20% off your entire order. It doesn't matter how much you spend, you get the 20% off, guys. Hit liverishi.com. Mention you heard it on the Patriot Angle, or Patriot Angle, where's my hat at? Make sure you heard it on the Savage Unfiltered podcast. We used to be Patriot Angle, but we switched over to Savage Unfiltered. Mention you heard it on the podcast today, guys, and you're going to get some tremendous discounts. Back here with Joseph M. Leonard, and joining us today is our co-host Soslin Timison from his show, Remember God Loves You, and I'll meet you at the Finish Line podcast. Joseph, let's get into a little Mar-a-Lago.
All right.
What the hell is going on with Mar-a-Lago, buddy?
Before we do that, though, since you're talking discount codes, let's remind your audience they can buy my book at terrorstrikes.info/buy and use code Patriot Angle, the old one's still active, and get 15% off an autographed copy of my book.
That's tremendous. You know, Joseph, I wasn't going to forget about you, buddy. I was actually going to save that for the last segment here of the show. But, folks, you heard it from the author himself, Joseph M. Leonard, from the book Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You. Tremendous book, guys. I highly suggest you read the book. Joseph, hold on, buddy. I was so fascinated about that book. I've now read it 3 times. The content in that book is fucking phenomenal. I have to say it.
Well, I wrote it in a way, and I there's a review on my site that somebody does say that. They read the first 3 chapters and then realized that they needed to go back and read each chapter 2 or 3 times because so much is packed into so few pages that they realized they were missing things. And
Joseph, hang on, buddy. We have to push this to Soslin. You have to read this book, man. I mean, the book is phenomenal. I'm not just giving a hype point here to Joseph over the show. The book is phenomenal. I mean, I'm lost of words just saying it right now. I mean, you have to read the book, literally.
Yeah. Hey, I love books. So.
Yeah.
Hey,
I just wanted to sneak in the discount code since you threw in the CBD discount code. So don't read my book while on CBD, though. No.
Hey, that'd be a trip to remember, though.
Again, just interjecting a little humor. Feel free.
Joseph, I don't recommend the listeners and followers here of the show to read it while you're all baked on marijuana and stuff like that.
Hey, so I was wondering if I can put my plug in. Okay, so
go ahead. The floor is yours, buddy.
So if anyone wants to follow my podcast, I have a very special thing that we're doing at my podcast. So you're welcome to follow my podcast, Remember God Loves You, and I'll meet at the finish line. If you click on the link below all the way, you're going to see a support link. And the support link is Tim Tebow and I have his team and I have joined together to combat human trafficking. According to Laura, who is our special guest today, she identified as modern day slavery. So you are welcome to check out the podcast on Spotify and anywhere any podcast platform is, and you'll find Remember God Loves You and I'll meet at the finish line. Click on the link below and support. Let's stop human slavery in this day and age.
Sas, why don't you hang on, Joseph. Why don't you plug in the tomorrow's episode? Joseph, he has a phenomenal guest. Go ahead.
Okay, so tomorrow I also have a very, very special guest. His name is, I'm sure most of you guys know who he is in Wisconsin, and not only in Wisconsin, but Frank's Speech. His name is Representative Timothy Rampton, who will be joining my podcast tomorrow morning at 9:30. Stay tuned for around 10 o'clock when it will drop. That is a very special guest. And next week, we also have special guests lined up for next week that are huge in Wisconsin, that are big public figures. Stay tuned for tomorrow, though.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Good stuff.
I'm glad you mentioned Tim Tebow because part of my book is about Christian sub-themes and family values and charitable giving. So on my site at terrorstrikes.info/charity, I try to encourage people to indeed give back to community. And the Tim Tebow Foundation is one of the charities I highlight on that page.
Hey, I do a Christian podcast. You should give me a follow on Spotify.
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
So,
All right, guys. Before we, I just want to make sure, are we done with the plugins here? Guys, we like to have fun on the show here. I do, Soslin knows, Joseph has got to know me over the course of the last several months here. I think Joseph's been on like 5, maybe 7 episodes now. He's gotten to know me. Guys, I always give the floor to people that deserve a push in life. And it's about achievements. It's not about ratings. It's not about, I need the upper hand and this and that. I always give the floor to people for promos, for just publicity, because that's my show is about publicity. I love to see other people grow, but I want to make sure, are we done with all the promos, guys?
Yeah. Yes.
You know what? I just tried a new hemorrhoid cream that
Joseph, my show is unfiltered, buddy, but that's a little
Again, we've got to keep a sense of humor, and my book too has a chapter of comic relief. No matter how serious shit is, we've got to keep a sense of humor.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Joseph, I want to get into this Mar-a-Lago saga. What is going on with Mar-a-Lago? Like, I want to hear your viewpoints because I haven't yet spoke to you about Mar-a-Lago. I've had Soslin on the show. We've done like 3 or 4 episodes, like little mixture of episodes with the Mar-a-Lago. Like, what's going on with Mar-a-Lago, buddy?
Well, they just handed Trump a major victory is what they did, because what I alluded to earlier was that we were going to get into stats. Merrick Garland's approval rating is as bad as Joseph R. Biden's. So, and Newsmax had a poll that said now independents, those people in the middle who pretend they're above everybody and don't want to pick a side, but like Rush said, and there's a Rush quote in my book too, but if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Now you are either with saving the republic or you are with the fascocrats destroying the republic. And 33% of independents now, Newsmax says, believes the FBI raid is indeed part of the continued witch hunt against Donald Trump and a farce. So guess what, guys? You just made Red Wave 22 bigger than what it was already going to be, and hopefully make 24 a landslide victory for Trump's return to the White House.
But here's the bigger problem, though. The way they did it, though, is very unconstitutional. That is, to me, that's alarming, because I grew up in a communist country. I grew up in Russia, so I know what firsthand what it's like, and I was in the military. I mean, to have it going this style should scare and should put everybody's on high alert to know, okay, am I going to get raided tomorrow? Am I going to get raided in the near future? How should I prepare? What should I do? Because the fact that they did this now opens up a Pandora's box. Now anything can happen at this point. Look at the IRS agents. Over 87,000 agents now, bigger than the State Department, bigger than all the 3 heads combined together, bigger than the FBI, the Pentagon and stuff. That should be alarming. And imagine what that's going to happen now with the FBI and how they have the power now to do whatever they want pretty much. And if they could do it to the president, if they could do it to a former president, then what's going to stop them from going to your house? That should be alarming. It's not about the victory.
That's what it's all about. They are now the Federal Intimidation Bureau, the FIB.
The KGB. They're the new KGB of America.
Yeah. And all over the Records Act, which has no criminal enforceable statute authority to it. So the warrant is a joke. We have to see the affidavit and expose who the current liars are, what are the current lies they told, to now engage in this next step in the witch hunt. The warrant itself is meaningless. We must see the affidavit because you have a right to face your accusers in this country.
Well, Joseph, here's the thing. There was a statement that was put out by Trump lawyer. Well, he was a lawyer of Trump. I'm not sure if he's still active on the team with Trump, coming out of Rudy Giuliani just yesterday, saying that why did it take the FBI 9 hours to raid Mar-a-Lago? 9 hours. Hold on. They spent an entire week. Literally, if folks don't know this, they were in Palm Beach for a week. Okay, they spent that weekend to enjoy Palm Beach, right? And then right after that, they went right into it. Right. Like, why? First and foremost, why did they spend 9 hours to raid a president? This has never been done before, Joseph.
Well,
this has never been done before.
This is because they are using the Records Act, which again has no criminal enforceable information or punishable offenses in it. But they are using that as cover. It is a pretext to continue the witch hunt. And the 9 hours was a fishing expedition. They are using the Records Act as a pretext for the warrant to go in and go on that fishing expedition because everything else they've done hasn't worked. And yes, people are talking about maybe evidence has been planted. Why do people say that? Because of the Steele dossier. We've seen the FBI use fake planted information before.
Well, that was said by Andy McCarthy, too. I mean, he said the same thing, which Rudy Giuliani, for folks that don't know that's a Rudy Giuliani guy. Rudy Giuliani trained Andy McCarthy through his team, his legal team. And he said the same thing. It's a fishing expedition. Yeah. They went down there trying to dig into something that literally, folks, these documents, Sassel and Joseph, these documents were declassified. Sources are saying back in June. Trump had these declassified back in June. So if they're declassified, the charges can't stick.
No, well, the thing is that President Trump so what happened was that back on June 3rd of this year, 2022, I have over 44 pages of documents, or over 44 pages. I sent a screenshot to Michael talking about how they met in June asking for 25 boxes of classified information. Well, what happened was the week before, he declassified all the information. So it ended up being open to the public and even to the public records. So the fact that after the June 3rd meeting, the FBI only took back some of the boxes, but they still ended up, then they told President Trump to keep the 15 of the boxes. So right there then, if I were President Trump legal team there and President Trump was there right there and there in person that sit in on the meeting, I'd be questioning, why would you take all my boxes? Why would you want to keep me? Why would I have to keep 15 boxes? I thought you wanted them all. So that's number one. Number two, now they come out and saying, well, he refused to get those 15 boxes back to us on our first meeting in June 3rd. Well, no, he didn't, you dumb dodo. He ended up he said, hey, I welcome you to my house. I gave you coffee. I gave you all this. I gave you all my boxes of information. And you told me directly to keep those 15 boxes. What do you think is going to happen? I'm going to listen to you guys, but now you guys do this unauthorized raid to say, oh, he purposely kept information hidden. And you see it on CNN, you see it on MSNBC. It is a big farce.
Well, this is what the left always does.
Yeah.
They know they're idiots, followers are idiots, and they're hoping enough independents will be morons and not understand it. Just because something says top secret on it still or confidential doesn't mean it is anymore. It was at some point. It is no longer. And the other point, Eric Garland, the left does this all the time. They'll try to take a grain of truth and hang a great big lie off it. During his press conference, the standard is to do the least intrusive method, and then he immediately ignored the standard and failed to give an explanation why they couldn't follow that standard, and then allowed the raid under the warrant. And why then, if this is so important about nuclear secrets that someone might get their hands on, why did he wait 2 weeks before the raid then? None of it makes sense. The people smell the rotten fish.
Yeah. Well, you know what I do? I smell a rat here, Joseph. I do. I smell and Soslan, I smell a rat. A lot of people are saying that it may be a disgruntled Trump family member. Hell, it could even be the niece of Donald Trump, Mary Trump. Did anybody ever look into that? Mary Trump just happened to be on what was it? CNN. I think it was like 3 days ago. One of the damn networks.
Oh yeah, and she wrote a book.
Yeah, hold on, Sas. Mary, I know you got like 2 minutes here, and I'm going to give you the floor before you leave. You know, like Mary Trump literally was on work, and she was, oh, Donald Trump is this, Donald Trump is that. That the disgruntled family member that tipped off the corrupted FBI. Go ahead, Sas.
Well, okay, so I have till 6:15, so I'm good. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the fact, yeah, she wrote a book about how deranged President Trump was and how she had to grow up with him and stuff. But still, if I have people that don't like me at all, you know, I have people that don't like me at all. For instance, people in Madison, your local politicians don't like me, for crying out loud. You know, and even my own family even my own family members don't like me at all. But that still doesn't allow them to say, hey, tip off the FBI and stuff.
Well, Sas, do you think it was the disgruntled family member, Mary Trump? She's shown a lot of bitterness to her Uncle Don, right? Uncle Donald Trump. You know, like she said in her book, she has a book out that she bashes her uncle extreme limits. I don't know if Joseph have read the book by Mary Trump, but she goes into extreme levels.
Yeah, she's psychotic.
She neurotic. She's psychotic.
Yeah, she's psychotic. Sorry about that. Yeah, psychotic.
Yeah, I saw some excerpts. I would certainly never even bother to go to the library to check it out to read it. But that goes back to the point of why the affidavit, and I'm sorry, I haven't gotten sleep, so my brain is a little slow today. But that's why the affidavit must come out. You have a right to face your accuser. We need to know who the liar is and what lies they told that created the pretext for this warrant.
Yeah. So, you know, let's make a statement here on the show, Joseph Soslan. I'm going to go to Soslan first before I go to Joseph to get a statement for this question I'm about to ask. You know, who do you think tipped off the lie that, you know, Donald Trump had these classified documents stored in the basement of Mar-a-Lago? Like, who do you think it was? Do you think it was a disgruntled family member, or do you think it was a staff member? Like, where are you going at with this, Sauce?
Oh, boy. I would have to say it was Bill Barr.
You think so, Bill Barr?
I think so, because Bill Barr, here's why. Because Bill Barr, he worked with President Trump. He did good things to get on President Trump's good side, and then he ended up getting more information. And then right when 2020 hit, that's right after the election and right when he switched over. And you can tell because President Bill Barr was so adamant of getting Joe Biden in that he was so adamant of getting him in. And also, Bill Barr is the one that requested Merrick Garland to be under Joe Biden's FBI, even under President Trump's FBI.
But you think so? You're saying that's the informant then? That's the informant that tipped him off.
Bill Barr, yes.
Yeah. What about you, Joseph? What's your analysis on this, bud?
Well, I agree with Sauce that you can't trust Bill Barr, but the rumor is that it is somehow someone inside Mar-a-Lago or who has been there a lot of late. So it could be a disgruntled staff member. It could be a liberal Secret Service agent who had just rotated onto his detail. And again, to say that they were hiding these things there is ridiculous. They knew they were there. They told him to put an extra lock on where they were. So they knew they were there. It's not like it was a big revelation that, oh, we didn't know they were there. They knew they were there. They asked them, well, if they're going to be there, put an extra lock on that area, which they did. They complied. So again, all of this is bull and a pretext.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could even be the butler. I mean, right, Alfred, right? I mean, well, that's from Batman. But, it could have been the damn butler, for Christ's sakes. You know, the butler's only making so much money. I need more money, Mr. Trump, you know? But, like, here's the thing. Sauce and I, we did a show. Matter of fact, I think Sosslin and I, we were one of the first to air this on airwaves. Sosslin was literally telling me last week, I have breaking news. And I'm like, what? And Sauce is like, you need to hear this. And, he's telling me about the whole ordeal going down. And, I was speechless. I mean, speechless. Yeah, but
and I thought, well, and when I told this, Joseph, when I told Michael about the breaking news, I thought Michael would not believe me, and I thought Michael's like, okay, well, you gotta get valid sources, you gotta get more information and stuff. Well, what happened was literally right after the phone we got off. So it was funny because Michael was watching right side broadcasting and stuff, and you thought, what did you think it was in the first place?
I thought it was. I don't know. I told you that story before, Sauce. I thought it was like some type of, publicity thing because, media does a lot of publicity where they fly like helicopters over, rich and famous, people's houses and homes and stuff. So I thought it was another publicity thing. I thought it was, I didn't really get the whole story, the whole inside source of it, because it was still being developed. This was done by Right Side Broadcasting, so I was speechless, to be honest with you. I didn't understand it at first.
And so then I called Michael because I have an inside source in Mar-a-Lago. He was the one that was experiencing the whole thing, and he said, hey, you need to tell this as many people as you can. And then what happened is that afterwards, I called Michael. I said, "Hey, this is what's happening. I need to be on your show to talk about what's going down." And literally right after we got off, Michael then started getting like news cameras started going on, and like other news stations started picking up on it. So we were the very first ones, and it was very interesting because I was able to experience the aftermath of it. So I did a special episode called Pray for America Pray for America episode. And I was asking God that he can heal this country and that he can do all this stuff. But it was interesting because after you would think that people come together, but instead it became the opposite. Instead, people said, well, why are you supporting the FBI and stuff? And why are you supporting all this? And why are you being political and stuff? I'm like, well, no, we got to bring it together because this is the first time in history that this has ever happened in a free country. Well, I thought it was a free country, but, it was just interesting about the whole thing.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Really good, really interesting stuff. Joseph.
And he calls me the analysis. Oh, and I don't know if you know my nickname, but he calls me Sauce Analysis, Joseph.
Sauce, I wanted to mention something because you said about originally being from Russia. I also have a friend. I have several friends that are from elsewhere, but I have one who's older than me, and I just turned 60 this year, who escaped from Hungary from behind the Iron Curtain. And why is it, it seems, that, well, I know why, but it's always people who escaped from the shitholes that the American left are trying to turn America into, that love America more than the American left, who have no understanding of what socialism, communism, and fascism is really like, or they wouldn't be promoting it.
Yeah, I don't get that myself. I talked to people, countless people I meet on the streets, and I'm noticing, even in Madison, how is it that, like what you said, I thought you loved America, and I thought you were so patriotic. And I also I think wrote an op-ed. Where did your JFK Democrats go? You know, your JFK Democrats that disagreed, but at the end of the day, they still had their American flag up and they're still patriotic for America. But they were just disagreeing on minor things. Well, now in this day and age, if you even fly an American flag in Madison, people automatically think that you're alt-right extremist and that you are Republican. It's become to this point. And so now, if you go to Madison stuff, all you see is Nazi flags flying throughout Madison. You see upside down American flag. You also see torn American flags. It's actually a disgrace. I'm like, this is absolutely appalling. This is not the country I came to. What tragedy, what event do we have to have to bring people back together to be patriotic for America? What do we have to have another civil war or what? What do you think, Michael?
Have
you noticed it?
Like I say, you know, we're definitely becoming a country in decline. You know, we're losing our freedoms, we're losing our liberties. We're becoming a banana republic more than ever. And you know, it's true. I mean, if you want to see what, you know, another form of a Venezuela, Cuba, a China, or another small nation, even a smaller nation compared to them, looks like with a divided government. That's what a banana republic is. It's parties of government organizations, parties, whatever, that are divided, that basically bicker batter against each other, that fight over one another about policy. And that's what we're becoming, literally, every single day.
Yeah, well, we know why the younger generations are idiots, because they're indoctrinated to be idiots.
And it frustrates me.
The limousine liberal ruling elites that if we turn into socialist, communist, or fascist, they will still be rich as part of the ruling elite, while the useful idiots they've indoctrinated will all be poor, but are useful idiots and too stupid to learn from history because we don't teach that in school. I say now, you remember we used to say the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And, you know, history's got an R in it too there, but we used to call it the 3 R's. But now the new 3 R's are radicalism, raunch, and hatred for America.
Yeah.
That's taught in our schools.
And the sad part is, it's scary to know that, you know, we have a younger generation, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have kids, but what's going to happen to our kids? You know, what's going to happen to our military that's pretty much depleted because, you know, heavens forbid, we got to groom our military to being like wearing pansies and dresses, and, you know, and we're giving money to our adversaries and giving our money to enemies and giving like over $300 billion of military aid to the Taliban. What do you think is going to happen? Our enemies are going to use the weapons that we've given them against us. And we're going to come back. They are doing it already through COVID.
That was already given. That was already given by Biden. It's already happened.
Yeah.
You know.
And I talk about this in my book, The Failed Iran Deal, and idiot Joe Biden, still the very fucking week that Salman Rushdie was attacked by a GIZA, as I call them, which stands for Global Islamic Jihadist Interim Army Soldier. He was attacked because the Iranian Ayatollah fatwa on Salman Rushdie still exists. Salman Rushdie was attacked, but based on the fatwa out of Iran, who still chants death to America and death to Israel. And idiot Joe Biden, who was VP under Obama in that Iranian deal, still wants to engage in another Iranian deal to let them get nukes and give them money and fund more terrorism.
Well, Joseph, it makes you feel better. About 2 weeks ago, President Joe Biden gave Palestine $315 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how about that, huh? Well,
and what's happened just the other day, 5 Americans, including a pregnant American woman, injured in a bus attack in Jerusalem by those same Palestinian terrorists Biden just gave money to.
Yeah, I have a question. Where is all this money coming from? Like, if we're such in an inflation, like, where is the money coming from? I don't understand that. Is it just, are they just printing this?
Yeah, they're printing. They're trying to collapse this country, Michael. They're trying to blow this country up. They're trying to collapse the economy. So they're hyperinflating the economy, and they're hyperinflating like our spending. Because why? In the last 2 years that Joe Biden's been president, we've gone over through $4.5 trillion. That's more spending than President Trump has ever done, more than Obama. Okay, we spent $4.5 trillion. Okay, $2.3 trillion went to Ukraine, Russia, and went to other programs, which I thought they were all embezzled because.
Wait a minute, Sox. I have a question to ask you. Like, I want to step into the liberal leftist mindset.
Okay, Tommy.
Why is Mr. Joe Biden saying that the inflation is low and there's job growth and everything else? Like, why is he saying all this? Like, why?
Well, because the economy. Okay, the reason why the job rate's going is because we haven't gained any jobs. If you want to,
I hint, joke. I mean, if we could just do that to them to wake them up, I mean, it's common sense of what's going on, folks. Really,
and it's frustrating because what more common sense do they need? You see, like, in Wisconsin and stuff, you see, for instance, in Wisconsin, you see, like, the roads are being fixed. So Tony Evers is, like, going out and making roads and stuff. Well, okay, pardon my language. No, you asshat. The roads aren't being fixed because of Wisconsin. It's being fixed because our COVID relief money is finally getting to the states. And so it's federal money. It's our tax dollars that we paid into the federal government fixing these roads, not you. Yeah. And you're not fixing the education system either. You change the grading scores and all these, and you see it. All these liberal Democrats in these liberal ran states are changing their test scores and changing their grading policies, how they grade schools and their overall, like, score and see and all that in the average. They're changing them purposely to match. Say, oh, we're doing a fantastic job to prove that COVID lockdowns did work. Anyway, they did it. It flopped.
Yeah, they're not really. The child isn't really learning if they're just going to give the kid an A. I mean, how's that child learning? We're just going to give them an A to, let them get to the next grade. I mean, they're not learning anything.
Yeah, I want to go back to something Sauce said, because he may not know who Cloward. Well, you've been in the U.S. long enough. You probably do know who Cloward and Piven is. But you exactly laid out the Cloward and Piven strategy to collapse America.
Yep.
Sauce?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, no. I know my history. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, so you are familiar with Cloward and Piven and Saul Alinsky.
Yeah, that's how you collapse the economy. If you do your research, if you do your history on Russia and all these other, like they did in Venezuela, they did it to Russia when Russia was rich and stuff, when Russia used to be free.
Castro did it to his people in Cuba, I believe, too, at one point. Yeah.
So they overspend and they hyperinflate the economy. So what happens you're pretty much building an economy made out of a molehill. And when you pretty much do that, it's going to collapse at some day because you can't keep pouring millions of dollars into an economy that's not making any growth. And we see it. For instance, I showed Michael, I took a screenshot of my portfolio on the market. So I put money in the 4D Pharma, and for the first time, that 4D Pharma finally took a collapse. And so we're already seeing
that was the stock That was the stock you showed me
Yeah.
with the screenshots, us. The stock, yeah, literally just, I mean, it crashed.
Yeah,
I mean,
I lost money.
How old was that stock though? Like how old? Like
that stock was 75 years old.
so 75 years and then it just crashed? Like things just don't crash. How did it crash?
So what happened is that they couldn't handle so what happened is that 4D Pharma is like a loaning company out of the 4D Pharma is like a loaning company out of across America and stuff. And they help out they work with banks and they also work with the federal government. But they said, even their CEO said, hey, you know what? We're coming at an alarming rate. We can't keep up with the interest rates. We need to slow down. We need to slow down on spending or this is going to happen and stuff. Or we're not going to be able to survive. Our stock's not going to be able to survive and stuff. And he said on Fox Business and multiple other sources. And the interesting part is that the owner of it, so it's a liberal-owned company, actually. So the liberal-owned, he went and met with Joe Biden, and he said, hey, you need to stop this and stuff, and we need to stop spending and slow down where we're allocating money. And what does he do? What does the Easter Bunny do? He says, hey, Joe Biden, here, sign this. Sign your name on the dotted line. Make sure it's within the lines. And it collapsed. The 4D Pharma, after this $780 billion went through because the 4D Pharma stated that they couldn't handle this next round of money without like some readjustment. That's what's happening. A lot of these stocks can't handle it because it's so much at once each time.
Oh boy.
I do homework, so I'm sorry if it's too analytical. I do homework, so
yeah. No, I was just fascinating when you said 75 years, man, and it fucking crashed like after 75 years. It's fucking crazy.
I lost all my money. So how do you think I feel?
Yeah. Some of these companies, the go woke, go broke problem is some of these companies are pivoting to get ready for the new coercive ESG scores. It's not about your profitability and economics anymore. It's all about economics, your social score, and your governance score. It's another backdoor fascist control of corporations.
Yep. So, and the ironic part is that the 4D Pharma guy, he voted for Joe Biden. He endorsed him and gave him money. And they came back and bid him. That's irony at its best, but I lost money in it, so.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff, man. I heard that and I was like, I still can't get over that. 75 years.
Yeah.
75 years and it's done like with a snap of a finger. I mean, that's nuts.
And see, and that
and
that continues, and it's not going to be, and it's funny because Elon Musk said that there's going to be more stocks that are going to be doing the same thing, and it's going to be, and that more and more stocks are pressuring the same thing. Look at Netflix, for instance. All right. Netflix is kind of doing the same thing. They're imploding as well. So what is Netflix doing, for instance? They're officially adding ads inside their TV shows, inside of their movies, and they're pushing all these ads in now because now it's becoming like a regular streaming services because people are leaving.
Well, Sash, you got the company. I don't mean to cut you off, but you got the company woke flicks of what I call them. They're bending the knee to this woke culture. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is.
So do you think that this woke culture? Okay, Joseph and Michael. Then here's a question. Okay, for both, I'll go Michael first. Do you think these woke people, the small minority woke, is meant to undermine and get rid of our free market system, the capitalist system, our market? Do you think that's what this is, and to push for it?
I think it comes down to Sas, and you had said this question to me, I think once before, and I'll ask it again because it's a fascinating, topic that you bring up. I think it's more on an attention scale, Sas. It's little groups, little organizations that it goes back to our childhood days where they get so frustrated about not fitting into a certain group. So what happens is, they try everything to fit in, right? So what happens? They do, like I said, they go to every angle, and they're like, they'll just for an attention. And I think that's what this woke shit is all about. It's all about attention. It's not about a movement. It's not about equality. I keep on hearing, fucking equality when it comes to this woke shit. It's not about equality.
It's not equality. No, I wanted that garbage to cut out. It's not quality. It's not funny anymore.
No,
it's getting old.
Yeah.
Joseph, what do you think?
It's all about virtue signaling.
Yep.
Yeah, they really thought go woke would get them rich, but like the hashtag says, go woke broke. And like you exactly said, Netflix, it really started to turn with that, I forget what was that called, that pedophile softcore child porn show.
Oh, yeah. Coming out of Madison. It was a UW-Madison professor that came up with a TV series, and it was filmed at a UW campus.
Yeah, and
only in Wisconsin, huh?
Yeah, the more woke these companies go, they think wokeism is the majority, but it's not. It's a small minority.
Yeah, Joseph, hold on. Wasn't that series called Cuties or something?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it was filmed on. So what happened is at Cuties and stuff, they actually canceled the film set. So I went to it. I went downtown Madison and stuff, and the youngest people were these adult men were going after these 13-year-old girls. And so it crossed the line, and people finally stood up and said, okay, we can't be doing that. But they said it was for a Netflix series. So then they threatened to bring it against the Supreme Court of the state of Wisconsin of saying, hey, you know what? This is for production and stuff. And so that's why Netflix pulled out from them, because there's going to go to the Supreme Court of Wisconsin. They didn't want that kind of a lawsuit on them.
Yeah, you remember I had an episode going back, Joseph, with another podcaster. We had a discussion about it was you and it was Pedro Orta, the former CIA agent, which I'm trying to get back on the show. He's a phenomenal individual. I'm not sure. Have you been on the show yet with me and Pedro? I'm not sure, Joseph.
No, I have not.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get a panel between you and Pedro Orta, because he's a phenomenal individual. We had a discussion about what we're talking about with this Cutie series crap, and it had a lot to do with this recent Dallas, Texas event where these parents brought the children into the nightclub. And I had a podcaster on, and Soslin knows where I'm going with this, where he thought it was okay at first, where there was like, what are you talking about? It's not indoctrinating children. Was there alcohol involved? No, you nimwit. It's not alcohol. It's not the point. We're talking about bringing young children to an adult nightclub that's not ideal for them. This is what we're talking about, Joseph. This is what we're talking about, Soslin, on the show today. It's this type of wokeness, this type of poison that's being injected into this country every single day. And the libtards that Joseph uses from time to time, the libtard, literally, I think that's a Joseph terminology on his material there. The libtards, they don't understand that. They think, oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, sexual perversion of children. And they want to literally, the left loves to redefine terms. Now they want to change pedophile to minor attracted person.
Yes.
There's meant, we call you a pedophile, and there's meant to be a stigma because it's against the fucking law. A child under the age of 18 cannot engage in sex. They are not of the age of consent. It is sexual exploitation. It is statutory rape. There's meant to be a stigma because it's against the law. But the left wants to normalize pedophilia. It's the next step on that slippery slope of the LGBTQ plus community. And let me add this too. And even some gays are waking up. On Twitter, they got banned. I don't know if they're back yet, but they were suspended. I think they're permanently banned. gays against groomers. The gay community is even waking up. And you see Brandon Strzok, who created the walk away movement, because he's fed up with the identity politics and this nonsense from the left like this. Normalizing pedophilia is a step too far, finally, even for some in the LGBTQ community. And they're saying, no, stop grooming our children.
Well, Joseph, if I may add, since we're on this topic and it fits right into what Soslin talks about on his Christianity show. Remember, God Loves You, and I'll Meet You at the Finish Line podcast with Soslin Timison. What is your thoughts on, you talk about the LGBTQ plus community, right? The alphabet people, right?
Yes, I call it that.
Thoughts about this new movement where, I'm not going to say transgender, because in my time we used to call them transvestites, because that's what they are. What do you think of these transvestites, Joseph, invading their movement into the church? What's your thoughts on that, buddy?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's one transvestite, and I might surprise all of you in listening, that I actually like and respect. Blair White. If you know who that is, if you don't, look her up. She's in the Snowflakes video with Tom McDonald. She's part of Brandon Strzok's walk away movement. She is someone that I'm willing to call her a she. You look at her and you're not going to think anything but a good looking woman, but she's a guy. But Blair White is someone who I like and respect because she's got a brain on her. It's like I coined the term gaytivist. I have no problem with friends of mine. I know them. I love them. They know I'm concerned about them.
But Joseph, what's your thoughts? Joseph, what's your thoughts on them preaching though? They're preaching this in Christianity churches, man.
It's out of control. It's like I was starting to say, traditional marriage. I have no problem with gay people who just want tolerance, but it's not about tolerance anymore. It's about gaytivism. It's about
Joseph, hold that. Joseph, hold that thought. I want to get Sas's final words because I think Sas says he's only available till like about 6:15, and we're closing up on that. Sas, buddy, jump in on this before you depart.
So I just want to tell you, I want to make a couple corrections. Number one, that pedophilia attracted to minors and stuff, that movement actually started in Wisconsin, and our governor is working on legalizing it, number one. Number two, okay, this whole transgender people speaking behind the pulpit and all these pedophilia stuff, you see what the end goal is? The end goal is trying to undermine the biblical values of what this country is founded on. And the biggest one of all, okay, is that they're ultimately committing the biggest sin, okay, which is in a slap in the face of the Christian community. And I said this last night on the show, on my podcast, all right, where it literally instructs in the Bible, this is how we should live according to God's word, and this is how we should be, if we want to be obedient unto him, we should do like not a list, but we should be loving to our neighbors and stuff. But also gives certain guidelines of thinking, okay, if you sleep with another man, or if a child sleeps with his sister or daughter, or vice versa, they should be held accountable for. And that's where we came up with our laws. What they're pretty much doing is that they're rewriting their Bible. They're rewriting what the Bible should say. And so now in the Bible, in the newer Bibles that are coming out, they're thinking that they're throwing all these pronouns in, and they're literally distorting the Christian value and this country of which was founded in Judeo-Christian.
They're manipulating the First and Second Testament. That's what they're trying to do. Sas, I don't mean to cut you off, buddy, but I want to put this point in before you leave. It's you know what it is. Let's go back to what I was saying. They're not doing this for equality. They're doing this for attention. It's like a little boy not getting his ball. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's not getting a turn at kicking the ball in the field at kindergarten. That's what it comes down to, man.
Yeah. Sas, before you go, you're absolutely right. It's about undermining religion, all religions, and because the left wants you to worship government. They want you to think your rights come from them,
Yep.
not God.
Yep. So, all right, guys, with this in mind, I hope you guys have a blessed day. And remember, you're welcome to follow me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also, Michael's going to throw in my social media handles. Either follow me on Facebook. I just got on TikTok and Truth Social. And you're welcome to give me a follow and keep up to the most current to date. And and I'm also going to come out with a website in the near future in these next coming weeks. With this in mind, remember God loves you, and I'll meet you at the finish line. Have a blessed day.
Take it easy, Sox. We'll see you next time, buddy.
Take care, brother.
All right, guys, before we continue this conversation with Joseph M. Leonard, the author of Terror Strikes, Coming to a City Near You. Guys, you just heard my my co-host, Soslin Timonson, speaking just his heart out, guys. He's a tremendous young man, 24 years of age. And I'm telling you what, the passion, the fire behind this gentleman of Sauce, I mean, it's unreal. I've gotten to understand who Soslin was since January. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now on the show, I've never met this kid, this young man ever before. He reached out to me from a recommendation from one of my community, in my podcast community, of somebody saying, reach out to Michael Gardner. He's a tremendous content creator. He does a lot of good work with the political viewpoints on his show. I highly suggest you, reach out to Michael and try to get part on his show. I was only going to have Soslin on, guys, for like one episode. The passion between Sauce and I and what he brings on this show, I've made him a regular on my show. I mean, that's what it's all about, guys. Like I said, it's not always about ratings and viewpoints and, I got to get on the top of the tippy top. No, guys, I give the floor to anybody on this show that I think deserves to have their voice. On the show today, we welcome back Joseph here, which is joining us here on the show. Joseph, we're like about an hour and 20 minutes into the show, buddy. I feel I could do this for like another 7 hours with you, man. I mean, you're full of knowledge, buddy.
I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, but go ahead, Joseph.
I was on a podcast a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I'm willing to go on with anybody and talk. I was on with a guy who just started.
Yeah, tell us about that story, man. Like, how did that go down?
It was his very first podcast.
Oh, wow.
I'm willing to talk to you if you got 5 listeners and they're just friends and family, or 5 million listeners. I'm willing to talk to you about my book and about politics. But yeah, it was his very first show, and we ended up talking for over 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a great pilot episode, man. I tell you that.
Yeah, I don't know how many people will actually make it all the way through that or not. But Joseph, I've heard of whether you call them podcasters or content creators, I've heard of people doing like 4, 5, 6 hour shows. And I'm like, man, I was like, I could probably do it, but you need a cup of coffee or like a can of beer next to me, to keep it going. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, we're going on right now. The time is like an hour and 20 minutes just hitting right now. And I can tell you right now, guys, I mean, I'm you can hear in the voice, it's getting winded right now. But, just hearing, Soslin speak his heart out, Joseph, relating to that, with us talking about, America in decline and, the whole saga with Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it's literally, Joseph, that this is where our country is becoming, and it's sad. It's extremely sad.
Yeah. What did the American decline is the theme of today's show, and I mean,
in decline. Yeah.
How can anybody not see that today, other than those who willingly, purposefully, and with malice of forethought, the fascocrats, as I coined the hashtag, wanting to do it purposefully. And like I said earlier, like the Rush song, You can't be an independent anymore. These aren't the JFK Democrats' days, as Sauce said. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. You are either with those of us defending the republic, or you are with the fascocrats destroying the republic.
Yeah, you're right on point on that. Joseph, I don't know if you've seen earlier before. We're talking about like where the country's going and how it's so divided and it's just full of hate. But it's not always like that. I had a gentleman earlier today through my blog. That I do get some voice comments that come in, and when they come in, they go to my automated voice answering machine in layman's terms, pretty much. And a gentleman that called in, I forgot his name. Oh God, I mean, I get so many comments sometimes that come in, but it's on the it's on my social media. What the hell? I'm tongue tied right now. I know he was from Indiana. Anyway, he called in and he's actually literally, Joseph, listen to this. He's going cross country right now on his bicycle, fighting for homeless veterans. I heard this story and I'm like, I'm trying to reach out to him. I did try to Google search him and everything else. I just can't get any contact information. So, buddy, if you're listening to this show, reach out to me again with your contact information. I'd love to bring you back on the show, or bring you on the show to get your story and everything. Because what he's doing right now, Joseph, is phenomenal. This man is biking across country right now, fighting for homeless veterans. I mean, if that story doesn't melt an eye, I don't know what does,
Yeah, I know you do, as I do, have a special place in our hearts for those who stepped up and defend our nation and want to keep us free, fight to try to free other enslaved peoples and spread freedom. The Navy, was it the Navy? I think they used to have a commercial, a force for good. And I've got no problem with that. This bullshit about colonialism is nonsense. We are about freedom, and we should want to spread freedom. And those who step up, and I am against amnesty, but I'm willing to make one exception. You know how the left talks about dreamers all the time. If you came here under no volition of your own, you were dragged here by your parents or sent over by your parents as a child. If you're of military age, if you're willing to step up and serve in combat, not some desk job buried in Arizona somewhere, but if you're willing to fight in the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, in combat zones for a period of 6 years, I am willing to give citizenship to those people who are willing to fight and potentially die to defend freedom. Those are the people we want, not the freeloaders we're getting.
Yeah, that's what we do want, Joseph. We want that. We want that message, but it's being so manipulated right now by the radical left. You use the word dreamers right now. I think that's the latest slogan right now. It's being used by Walt Disney World. You know what I mean? But it's been a good talk again with you, Joseph. I always like to keep the shows here with Joseph that he comes on over an hour because it deserves an hour. I mean, Joseph comes on here and he spills his heart out, literally.
Yeah, well, just to tie this back to my book, we talked about Salman Rushdie. I mentioned him. I mentioned the attack on Americans in Jerusalem, a bus attack by the Palestinian jihadists. And it has to be repeated again over and over because people don't know history. They keep talking about a two-state solution. Well, the supposed Palestinians, the terrorists, the leaders there aren't for an independent state. They rejected a two-state solution 5 times already. They are anti-Semites. They want to kill all Jews, and after they're done with the Jews, they want to destroy America too. Because remember, Iran says Israel is the little Satan, America is the big Satan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's a good way of looking at it, I guess, in a way. But I mean, why is it like that though, Joseph? Why do they look at that terminology like that?
Well, it's just pure hate. I mean, it's part power and control themselves. It's like Osama. I was on a show the other day. Osama bin Laden, right? He was considered a freedom fighter, and I wrote a piece. If you go to terrorstrikes.info/blogs, you'll see a piece. One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, right? Osama bin Laden was backed by us and the CIA to repel the Soviet unprecedented, unprovoked invasion of Afghanistan in the 80s. Osama got a taste of that power, and he wanted to retain the power for himself. So when that war was over, he then turned on us because he wanted followers loyal to him, not just cause. And all that laid out in Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You.
Yeah, Joseph, you mind you mentioned Osama bin Laden. I don't know if you've seen the piece that just came out quite recently with the son of Osama bin Laden. Now the son, which is quite fascinating. The reason why I say he doesn't resemble his father whatsoever it is because he doesn't. Now, this kid, which is now a man, Joseph, he's a full-grown man. This kid, or excuse me, I got to stop saying kid. This man, when he was a boy, Joseph, he literally was shown pictures of destruction, buildings getting blown up. These are sentimented imagery that you would show any type of child that you're trying to train them to be killers. This is what they do in the Middle East to children as young as 5-7 years old. They show images to children as young as 5-7 years old to train them to be killers and assassination members and stuff like that. But after showing this boy, now a man, the imagery, it's quite fascinating, Joseph, because he is nothing like his father. There was just a documentary that came out just not too long ago saying that he wants to be like an artist or something, a graphic artist. Isn't that amazing? After everything that he was shown as a young boy, now a man, that he doesn't resemble any of that evil.
Yeah, well, I've got a book. I forget what it's called. Once you start talking again, I'll go run and get it so I can give the author's name and the book title. Who was like that too, indoctrinated into jihad, but then woke up. There's such a thing as going too far, and to tie this back to Biden and the FBI raid and all that stuff, we see that from the American left. They go so fucking far that even the idiots that have been their followers are finally no longer fake woke. They're actually awakening. And like you mentioned, the indoctrination, the PLO does this in their territories with their children. It's literally in their cartoons to hate the Jews and to hate Americans and teach them how to be killers.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, I've said it once, I'll say it again, Joseph. how much more can this world take? I mean, how much more evil can we absorb before we literally turn on one another? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I while you were talking, I did run to my bookshelf and grab this. It's Kamal. Now, obviously, I want you to buy my book, but,
Of course,
I do also recommend this book, Kamal Salim, and I met him. I have an autographed copy of his book in my hand.
Wow. Well, how did that go?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, he tours. Again, having been indoctrinated into jihad, and he woke up, he is now, of course, a freedom fighter, against the Islamic radicals, or GIJA, as I call them. Like I said, Global Islamic Jihadist Interim Army. I say that like we called the National Socialist Deutschland Arbeiter Party Nazis. It's easier to call Islamic fundamentalist radicals GIJA. It rolls better in a sentence, but his book is titled "The Blood of Lambs: A Former Terrorist Memoir of Death and Redemption."
Yeah, it seems like you're getting a telephone call.
Of course.
You gotta get going. Yeah.
I'm not answering it. Obviously, I'll let it go to the answering machine. But
there you go. Speaking of the Nazis, do you know that there's literally a modern formation happening right now in the country? A lot of people don't realize that. But yes, the white people group of what they used to call themselves back in the 80s, which was a strong movement, folks. I mean, you can go back to the 80s, even the early to mid 70s. Had a strong influence here on the country, and it's slowly coming back. Literally, even through this Biden administration. Yeah. Now, a lot of people are gonna, hold on, Joseph. A lot of people are gonna blame. Oh no, it's the Republicans. The Republicans are forming it. No, it's coming out of the Democratic Party. I mean, I hate to say that, but it is.
You're right. It's leftist. People need to understand this. I'm glad you went there. People don't learn history. People have no clue that the Democrats literally held rallies at Madison Square Garden. Not MSG, because it didn't exist then. But I mean, they held rallies in New York for Hitler.
Yeah.
And, fascocrats, I call them that. It's not hyperbole. They try
hold on. Joseph, hold on. I want to make a quick correction here, so I can give you credit to your point. I think you're referring to the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City.
Thank you. Yeah,
yes, sir. Yeah.
My brain's kind of mushy today because I haven't had enough sleep. So.
Oh, it's okay. I just wanted to give you credit to your point. Yeah, it's the Hammerstein Ballroom that's been in New York forever. The reason why I know this is because I'm a former New Yorker and I know a lot of facts about the city of New York. But go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, but the left uses psychological projection. They try to call Republicans Nazis. But I wrote a piece about this. I call them fascocrats, and it's not hyperbole. When they call us a Nazi, they've got nothing at all to back it up but hot air. I wrote an article that lays out the fascocrats DNC platform literally has 28 planks that I won't say are identical. They obviously use much more flowery language than Hitler did, but there are 28 planks from the National Socialist Deutschland Arbeiter Party in today's DNC platform. That's why they call us Nazis. They have to deflect. They are fascocrats. And I lay it out. I prove it with facts, not feelings.
All right, Joseph, if for a leftist or a liberal that may be tuning into the show here on Spotify or any other podcast platform, can you explain this in layman's terms? I'm not trying to offend anybody, but some people may not understand the terminology that Joseph's explaining here on the show. So again, if there's a leftist or a liberal that's tuning into the show, which we do get sometimes from occasion, can you explain that in layman's terms of what you're referring to?
Well, the two most glaring ones are easy to understand. Disarming the public, anti-Second Amendment, wanting to take guns not away from criminals. No, they get out on no bail. They don't get prosecuted. They're right back out on the streets to kill again. But they want to disarm the public as a whole, because then, which is why our founders put the Second Amendment in, then they can control you. You can't fight back. First thing Hitler did, first thing they did in Venezuela, first thing any of these regimes do, disarm the masses. The other one is socialized medicine. It's not about your health care. Nothing.
And Joseph, we've seen this fold out in the summer of 2020 with Black Lives Matter and Antifa, where a lot of what Joseph's saying came out during the summer of the riots there, So, yeah, you're making some excellent points,
And you mentioned, well, let me make the last, I want to address BLM and Antifa, which is a joke. It's opposite world, like the leftists always do, like the Inflation Reduction Act, which is actually the Inflation Production Act. It's going to cause way more inflation, not reduce it. But healthcare, it's not about your health. It's about control. It's about saying, if you don't toe the fascicrats line, we'll deny your wife or your child the medicines they need. It's not about health. It's about control. And Antifa, they're the fascists. BLM, they are literally the El Duce, Mussolini black shirts and the Hitlerian brown shirts. They are the KKK reincarnated to be the stormtroopers for the modern Democrats.
And you know what's fascinating, every little group that's been coming out, since the dawn of time, it all goes back to saying, oh, it was all Republicans. The Republicans formed that. I've heard so much craziness come out in this country that the Republicans formed the KKK. The Republicans formed the Black Panthers. It was Republicans. But in the long term, you can go back to the grassroots and it all comes from the Democratic Party. But why is the left not wanting to admit to this?
Yeah, well, they can never admit to their past, right? They always have to deflect. And again, let's tie in the statues issue. Remember them wanting to pull down statues. They wanted to pull down statues of Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, during the Trump administration, I remember that. Yeah, where they actually took red spray paint, folks, and they spray painted to resemble blood on, statues of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and all these historic statues. Yeah. Where, Joseph, this is the brainwash media being influenced into this new generation, trying to rehearse or readdress, I was looking for the correct terminology, readdress American history. This is the manipulation that has been done before and shown before here in American culture, okay? It's so easy, Joseph, to manipulate a new generation when they truly do not know American history to begin with.
Exactly.
Because
they literally do not know. Abraham Lincoln and the Republican Party, the grand old party, was founded on the notion of abolitionism and the ending of slavery. Yet these morons think Abraham Lincoln is a racist somehow.
Yeah. I heard so much rhetoric with that, and after I heard that, Joseph, I'm like, you're referring to the man that signed the proclamation to end slavery. How in the hell is that man racist?
And the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, all having to do with freedoms and equalities, were passed by Republicans with Republican support. And that's another thing, too. The Civil Rights Act, the Democrats filibustered that under Eisenhower. They did not want Republicans to get credit for that. And there's a famous quote that when Johnson finally got in, I'm going to have them niggers voting Democrat for the next 200 years because he.
Oh my God!
You know, you didn't know that quote, or you forgot? You know, he literally said that. He literally said that, and the reason he said that is because he signed the Civil Rights Act because they filibustered it to prevent a Republican president from signing it. But Johnson convinced Democrat senators to not filibuster it so he could sign it to fool people. But it required a majority of Republican votes to pass.
Yeah, and Joseph, who was the four founding fathers? What party did they represent?
Well, there was no party then, but they would certainly be Republicans today. And remember,
well, what I'm saying is they were more the original Republicans, folks, were the Whigs. Yeah. You know, that's the original formation of the Republicans. They were the true founders of the Constitution.
Now
it wasn't.
You're going with that, but again,
you get the memo. Yeah, I'm trying to enhance the terminology behind what we're talking about today, guys. I hate to say this, okay, but it's true. I don't want to say I hate to say it. I'm just going to say it. It's true. If you want to admit to it or not, to my leftist listener or my conservative listener or Republican listener or independent listener for that matter, the true foundation for this country, if there was a Republican Party in 1776, okay, was the Republicans that signed the Declaration of Independence. It comes from, Joseph, a Republican movement, not a Democratic movement. Like I said, if there was a Republican Party in 1776, it came from the Republican Party.
No, you're absolutely right. It's the whole point. And it's like Benjamin Franklin said when queried, what have you brought us? We have given you a Republican, ma'am, a republic, if you can keep it. That's the whole point of why the Republican Party was founded, to preserve the republic, but yet free the slaves, to guarantee the all men are created equal promise of the foundation of the party. And all blacks following the Civil War were Republicans. I want to recommend a Matthew McConaughey movie, The Free State of Jones. Watch that. The KKK was formed by the Democrats to stop Republicans, both black and white, from exerting power in the South.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, folks, you're hearing facts in the show. You're not just hearing, just viewpoints that Joseph's making up. These are actual historic facts. Historic facts that, not only you can hear it on this show, but you can look in the archives, the National Archives, okay? They all have these facts. But Joseph, you're going to get libtards. You're going to get these leftist maniacs that are going to say, oh, it never happened. It never happened. It did happen. These are just people that are trying to change history. Okay, I've said it once. I'll say it again. This is for attention. Yeah. It is. It's because, Joseph, the party, the Democratic Party, is dying. There's no message behind it. This is not. When the Democratic Party died? After JFK was, pretty much assassinated.
Absolutely.
That's when the.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to listen, any liberals listening, Howard Zinn is not a history writer. He is a fiction writer. You need to read a real history book, not Howard Zinn left-wing propaganda. And that's where a lot of this is. you've seen it in that movie. What was with oh God, Good Will Hunting, where they
Oh yeah,
promote,
that was a tremendous movie. Yeah,
yeah, but they promote Howard Zinn and the fiction of America, not history of America. And if they are willing to admit history, the latest tactic, you've probably heard this, is the party switch myth. And Alfonso Rachel does a great piece on this. You know, and Dinesh D'Souza covers it in several of his documentaries. He showed all the Southern Democrat, racist, slaveholder party members, and less than 1% of them switched party. But they want you to believe all the racist Democrats left the Democrat Party and became Republicans. It's fake. It's false. It's the latest twisting of history to claim, oh, yeah, Democrats were racist, but Republicans today are really the racist party. It's all a myth. It's all lies.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you nailed it.
It's all easily provable. And Dinesh D'Souza, if you've not seen all his movies, you've got to see his movies. They're not documentaries like Michael Moore puts on, left-wing propaganda falsehoods. Dinesh D'Souza presents you real, historical, accurate documentaries, and his best one is America. Imagine a world without her.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, it's just like you mentioned. You know, you mentioned before. It's all propaganda. You know, by the media. You know, by the end of the day, folks. I mean, you know, whether you want to admit to it or not, it's there in plain sight. You know, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at this. You know, it's facts. You know, Joseph, as we close it out, because I'm going to close it out here in a minute. It's been an almost awesome 2 hours of a conversation with you. Probably the longest conversation I've had with Joseph here on the show. And I always love bringing Joseph here on the show, whether we do a one-on-one or a panel with myself, Jimmy, or Soslin, which, by the way, guys, Jimmy happened to have a prior commitment on another I'm just going to say a prior commitment. I don't want to go into full detail, but you know, that was one of the reasons why Soslin stepped in today to fill the shoes of Jimmy, which I do thank Soslin for joining us, because Soslin, as you probably heard, Joseph, is very much well involved in the political culture here today on the Republican committee. He is part of the Republican committee there in Wisconsin, so he is extremely busy.
Yeah, and people like Sauce are the immigrants we want, the ones escaping socialism, communism, fascism, who know what it's really like to wake up Americans. You can't go down that road. And the idiots who say that it can't happen here, it can happen here, it is happening here. We are 1930s Germany right now.
Oh, by far. And you mentioned Soslin's journey and his story, guys, which I do want to reassess to the audience here, the listeners here that's tuning into the show. If you would like to hear Soslin's story, guys, you can go back to about right around episode 235. Don't quote me on it. You'll see it in the vast library here of Savage Unfiltered, where Sauce literally explains his story, how he transitioned from a small village in Russia, which was a very extremist, communist area of Russia, to come to America. The story behind Sauce is amazing, guys. I highly suggest you tune into that episode here on the show, because Sauce literally pours his heart and his passion out on his journey from Russia to the United States when he was young, very young. very young. Joseph, after hearing that, I had tears in my eyes, literally listening to it, because these are the immigrants that we welcome here into the country here. These are the people that truly escape oppression or suppression from their homelands. And Sas had said it before, that he came into this country to escape what Russia had.
Right.
And now he says he's seeing, literally, Sas says it to me all the time. He literally calls the United States a Russia 2.0.
Yeah. I forget where I was going to go because, again, my brain's a bit mush. But, yeah, the legal immigrants, the true asylum seekers, not these fake asylum seekers. Now, somebody escaping Venezuela to come here, I have respect for and a degree of concern for. They are true asylum seekers. But all these illegals flooding our borders are trained by the left to claim.
Oh, they are, Joseph. You look at the videos where they show them coming in and everything. Come on. They were flown here from a country, from a private federal helicopter or plane. They drop them off about a mile, maybe a half a mile to the border, and they paint the picture like, oh, they've been walking for 1,000 miles and this and that. Bullshit.
Yeah, and they are all taught and trained to say, I've been oppressed. I fear persecution. I'm seeking asylum. No, you're not. You're seeking here to leech off the American taxpayer.
The welfare system. I mean, you labeled it correctly. The welfare system. You look at the pictures. If these are people that's been walking for 1,000 miles, Joseph, how come they have so much nice clothing that they're wearing? They're wearing Nike shoes. They're wearing branded clothing. I mean, come on.
And they all have fully charged iPhones. Yeah, these are oppressed people, right? You're so oppressed.
Yeah. That's being given to them by the American taxpayer. Why does the American people do not see exactly where our federal government's going? I mean, wake up in plain sight, folks. It's right there on plain sight. The media is showing you exactly what the federal government is giving these freeloaders, okay, every single day.
Now, again, if you're escaping Venezuela, I can understand. Yes. You're in need of asylum. You are actually oppressed in Venezuela and would, if you love freedom at all, would indeed fear for your life. But 99.9% of the people flooding over the southern border are wannabe freeloaders.
Yeah, because their country is not that bad of what the media paints it to be. Mexico, literally, and I want to speak mainly on Mexico because maybe Guatemala is a little different, but like the that part is like it's literally like it's a lot. It's a lot over exaggerated, if I want to use those words. Mexico is literally a very, very rich country, Joseph. Very rich country.
Yeah. Venezuela was the most rich South American nation until Chavez destroyed it. And Chavez, of course, lied, like Castro, lied to the Cuban people, promised all these great things, and immediately became a communist, fascist, Soviet satellite state and oppressed all the people. And I discuss immigration as one of the sub themes. I don't dwell on it in my book, Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, because the southern border is a security issue. This year alone, 50 people have been detained who are on the terror watch list. Now, if 50 people were caught, how many people are terrorists are in the million other gotaways that were never even interdicted and interviewed by our Southern Border Patrol?
Yeah.
Let alone, so terrorists have poured into this country over the southern border. So
absolutely.
My book is jam-packed of sub-themes in it, including the defund the police crap, because terrorism isn't the only crime we need to be worried about. The left defund the police and soft on criminals and no bail is a threat to our nation. The fascocrats are as big or more so a threat to American and Western culture than the foreign terrorists are, which is why my book came out this year in time for the midterms.
Absolutely, absolutely. Joseph, I do want to make an announcement here on the show. Hopefully, sir, you do have another 15 minutes left with your time here because we just got a text from the other co-host here on the show, guys. Jimmy the Rant literally finished up exactly what he was. Yes, we just reached out to Jimmy on the show here. Jimmy literally was just texting me as I was speaking on the show here. How's the show going? And I'm like, we're going into hour 2 here with Joseph here. Soslin was part of the show for roughly about an hour, 20 minutes, and me and Joseph's been carrying on the show since then. So Jimmy literally told me I'm going to give me 5 minutes and I'm going to be in the show. That was about 3 minutes ago. So he should be popping in any minute now. Cool. And, hopefully, I don't want to make any promises because I normally don't use my actual network that's connected to the podcast here of Anchor.fm, guys. That's right, guys. We broadcast our home network is through Anchor FM. So thank you, Anchor FM, for allowing us to continue this amazing podcast, guys. We are now on season 3 here with Anchor.fm. As we're waiting for Jimmy to join us here on the show, Anchor, guys, has been a tremendous company that's been literally launching our content, our material for 3 years. And it's been a tremendous journey from the beginning roots of our show, from the Kitchen Angle podcast to the Patriot Angle podcast, now rebranding to the name that fits this show very, very accurately, Savaged Unfiltered with Michael Gardner, guys. Yeah. Joining us today is Joseph M. Leonard, guys, the author of Terror Strikes, Coming to a City Near You. And Joseph, I mean, you've been labeling it accurate for going on 2 hours now of why our country is literally going in decline.
Yeah,
why we're losing it, pretty much.
I wanted to say something about Anchor FM because there are others, like SoundCloud and that, but Anchor FM is the premier and pioneer for podcasts.
Without a doubt,
they are what Twitter and Facebook were to the start of climb of social media, and now we've got so many other competitors, thankfully. But Anchor is the gold standard. They really are.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I don't have a podcast of my own, so I've got no reason to tout Anchor as a quid pro quo because I'm on Anchor. I'm not. I don't have a podcast. So Joseph, from my heart.
Yeah, Joseph, I keep on telling you, sir. I mean, buddy, you need to get it out. You need to get yourself, like, even if you do like 10 or 15 minutes, bud. I mean, don't you think that your voice needs to be heard, not only through books but through audio podcasting?
Well, yeah, I was debating doing a podcast, but the book was the route I decided to go because the legacy of that in print, I feel can hopefully reach the most people immediately now, as opposed to starting a podcast and having to build up an audience over time. The thoughts in this book, and again, it's called Terror Strikes, Coming Soon to a City Near You, but it's not just about terrorism. It's about so many things. It's about people who hate America, including the American left. That's why people need to read it this year before the midterm elections and share it with others before the midterm elections. And a podcast would have just taken too much time to build up, an audience. I could reach the most people this way. At least that's my thinking. That's my hope. That's certainly my prayer. And I feel called to do. I see Jimmy's coming in. That's great.
Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Before we bring Jimmy into the panel here, welcome, Jimmy. Joseph here. It does take time to build up an audience. I mean, we're going on season 3 right now with this podcast. And I tell you what, the journey has been tremendous. Welcome, guys, ladies and gentlemen, joining us into the show on hour 2. That's right, guys. We are on hour 2. Jimmy the Rants. Buddy, how are you?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hey, what's up, guys? Just sorry I couldn't be on before. I'm sure it was an interesting conversation. Not only with yourself, but with Robert Ralph, too.
Well, actually, I'm sure Mike doesn't want me to admit this, but we spent 2 whole hours talking about you behind your back, Jimmy.
That's fine. Wouldn't be the first time.
Well, unfortunately, Jimmy, Robert Ralph basically, sadly, had to respectfully pass on the episode. I'm not sure why. There was very unexpected changes. This was brought to my attention about 2 hours prior to the show. So Robert Ralph was basically not on the show. It was just myself, Soslin, and Joseph. But we still carried on the show. It was a damn good show, I think. But
did he actually give any reason as to why?
No, actually, he just he emailed me, like I said, roughly about 2 hours prior to the show, and said that respectfully, I have to pass on this episode. Did not go into full detail, so it was kind of baffling because Joseph had even made a comment earlier in the episode saying that he would love to have a conversation with Robert Ralph, that's running for state senate of Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, hopefully he reaches out and tells you. Hopefully he reaches out and has a better excuse as to why. I mean, obviously he doesn't have to disclose exactly what the case is, but unfortunately with politicians, that's why I always ask them, like, what do you want to talk about, and kind of gauge them, because let's face it, they're running for public office and we're not. So we're going to speak freely. And there's going to be things that, is going to either like hurt their image or help it. And even if they want to speak freely, they can't, which is the unfortunate side to politics, because I would appreciate someone to be truthful and honest. But let's face it, that's kind of not the business they're in.
Yeah. We've got to promote the good candidates. But sometimes we can be deceived. Like here in Michigan, I was a big fan of Rick Snyder at first when he first put his campaign. He was like a Trump. I'm a businessman. I will run government like a business. Make it effective. Cut the fat. Cut the duplication. Made a lot of great promises, and then turned into be nothing but a rhino once we got him elected. So we've got to promote the good guys, but people got to understand we're not perfect either. Sometimes we can be fooled by somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Joseph, if you want to give side comments here to Jimmy. Jimmy, this was actually the first podcast episode that Joseph had the honor to meet the legendary Soslin Teemison on the show. And Joseph, what was your comments on Soslin?
Oh, that was great. Yeah, I definitely am going to check out his. I wrote down the note, but now I can't even read the note about what the first word it is. But God Loves You, and Remember. That's what it was. I wrote
Remember,
down
God loves you,
REM.
and I'll see you at the finish line.
Yeah, I wrote that down as an abbreviation, REM. Remember, God Loves You, and I'll meet you at the finish line. I definitely want to check out that show, and obviously, I hope he'll have me on his show to discuss the Christian aspects of my book, because I am a Christian, and my main character is a Christian, makes no bones about it, but obviously, being about terrorism, it's not your normal, everyday kind of Christian fluffy topic, right?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
you got to go, Joseph. You got to go back to, like I said, you got to go back to that episode, the very first episode that I had Soslin on. He explains his life journey from a little communist village of Russia coming to the United States as a young boy. I'm going to warn you folks, if you listen to that story, you're going to be in tears, because it is a very, very sad story. I don't want to give any spoilers on the show, but you have to listen. It's a very sad story.
Yeah,
very sad.
I will mention to Jimmy, I'll give Helen Zabo a shout out, although I doubt she'll ever hear this episode. But Helen Zabo escaped from Hungary from behind the Iron Curtain way back when. And we discussed, so I could get your thoughts on this. How is it, or we know why, I mean, people escaping real socialism, communism, and fascism are the greatest immigrants we have. They love America because they escaped the shitholes that the American left want to turn us into. And they don't want that to happen here like it happened there. They are our greatest Americans, and they're not natural born.
Yeah, well, I actually had the pleasure of I went to a wedding on Saturday, and it was a ways away from home, about 4 hours away, up in Rhode Island. So I had the pleasure of giving one of my family members' friends a ride up to the wedding as well, with some other family members. And she's 68 years old, and she came from Cuba. She was born in Cuba and migrated here at 16 years old. So she got the full experience of what communism was. And especially at her age, she experienced it at the height of when the country was turned into that. And, she talked about some of the trials and tribulations she had to deal with while living there. She talked about, her father was a tough man, a proud man. And the day that, Castro seized the country, that's the first time she ever seen him cry, because he didn't know what he was going to do. They seized his business. They took all of his assets. So everything that he had worked for up until that point was gone, utterly gone. And then she talks about how the food rationing became a thing, and everybody got food rations. And her father would attempt to try to buy more food on the black market, but he didn't have the resources to be able to do it. So there was a lot of, stress in the house. People were hungry. And what happened was, I think it was under the Ford administration, she said. I'm not 100% sure that there was an amnesty program that you could apply for citizenship in America as long as you had a sponsor here. And so and some of the hardships that she faced was she had a family member here in America that was their sponsor for their family. And as soon as they applied for that, the government retaliates. The government retaliated against you and put her father in what she labeled it a concentration camp. Again, we're not going to say it was a concentration camp because obviously it wasn't, but they put him in a hard labor camp. Okay. Yeah. Similar to what, similar. So he had to work. I think it was cane sugar or something like that. So for those 5 years that they waited to be able to leave the country, because Fidel was letting people leave in that program, but the torment that you dealt with and being shunned and being bullied. I mean, she was being bullied in school due to that fact that their family, obviously the word got around that they were one of the families leaving. The government, took her father and put her in a work camp. He was gone for like 4 years. They got to see him, sporadically while he was freaking withering away up there. And you know what? When they got here to America, they didn't have shit. They had no handouts. And guess what? They lived the American dream. They all worked together. She bought a house here in New Jersey. She was able to deal with, she told me her whole life story. They bought a house, her and her husband. Her husband passed away unexpectedly at a young age. And she already had that work ethic because she came from a place where you work for free, basically, and you get nothing for it. So their family really appreciated and they really understood the value of winning that lottery ticket, coming to one of the best countries in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people, the people here, the piece of shit people here that don't want to appreciate that they're in one of the best countries in the world. And the people that come here and they think they're shitting on this country, they have no idea that true immigrants and people that come from very hardships, they love it. You could talk to anyone, talk to people from Africa that are working in gas stations. They don't care because they didn't have anything where they came from. They love it. They absolutely love it.
Jimmy, this ties into what we were just talking about right before you came in. I mean, did you come through a time machine or something? I mean,
No.
Right, Joseph? This is what we were talking about, like literally right before Jimmy came in. I don't know if there's no way he could be listening because this is through a recording broadcast. But I mean, literally right what we were talking about. What we were talking about, Joseph, is the difference between different immigrants that you see. Immigrants coming from Mexico, immigrants coming from Venezuela. There is a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, and to what Jimmy was saying, I wish I could. Jimmy, I'm running on little sleep, so my brain is kind of mush. I can't recall things as well as I normally can and need to. But I can't remember her name, and I don't remember what state even she's in. Running as a Republican, a descendant of a Chinese farmer. Who, again, yes, under Mao, it wouldn't have been her father, it would have been her grandfather, I suppose, had his land stolen and their family, put into a gulag and a work.
That was through Mauser, right?
Yep. Yeah. So
yeah.
She's running, and we need more people like her. I wish I could give her a shout out properly with her name and what state and what specific office. But we need, and we're getting, like Mayra Flores, the first Mexican-born congressperson, run as a Republican, an immigrant. We need more of these immigrants to tell these stories of the real hardship and the realities of real socialism, communism, and fascism. And I'm tired. Stop with the socialism works. It just wasn't done right. American leftists are just so smart. They will actually do it the right way. Give me a break.
Yeah. Jimmy, I wish you were able to be part of this panel like in the very beginning because we got into great content. We started out with myself, Soslin, and Joseph here, and I want to thank Joseph for staying on board here, going into almost 2.5 hours. I'm going to close it out here soon, but we got into some good content. We talked about the aftermath of what's going on with the Mar-a-Lago, and Joseph got into that in great detail. So did Soslin, and I think the American people understand just truly what's truly wrong with that sentiment of what went down. There's a lot of fingers to be pointed out with the Mar-a-Lago thing, and Joseph got into that in great detail. And we started getting into the what is truly going on with this country, why it's going into a decline.
Yeah, I don't understand how people can be so blind, deaf, dumb, and blind, like Bernie Sanders. How do you not see the stupidity and hypocrisy and lies? Bernie Sanders used to talk about, we need to tax the millionaires and the billionaires. Well, guess what? Bernie Sanders owns 3 homes. One of them an oceanfront property, even though they
Yeah, AOC said that too, Joseph. So it was a ripoff by AOC too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
even though they say the water levels are rising and all the beachfront properties are going to be underwater, he owns one. Same with Al Gore. And he used to criticize millionaires and billionaires, but Bernie is now a millionaire after selling so many books. He only talks about attacking billionaires now that he's a millionaire.
Hey, Joseph, the great hypocrite, right?
Yeah. Right.
Well, when you think about these people, they've never had any real jobs. They've never worked with their hands. They literally they went through the system. They went to college, and coming out of college, they became a politician. What do they really know about the people that they're supposed to represent? The system was never in their job. It became a career job because people understood how corrupt it could be, and the power grab and the money grab sitting in those positions. Congress that were here since segregation. I mean, what do you honestly think that those people understand the folk of the area? They don't understand shit. They've been in power for 40 years. They haven't been able to change not one thing. What's the major accomplishments? And I know tons of people are like, well, look at the policy, look at the legislation. I go, no, look at everyday living. Let me know what's going on. But what I will say is, a lot of people play that card. And when you say, are they deaf, blind, or dumb? The problem is this. Most rational people on the right or Republican, let me tell you something. If Donald Trump is guilty of a crime, I say lock him up. I have no problem with saying that. The problem is that on the left, they refuse to believe anything about Biden, about Obama. It's, unfortunately they try to call us a cult, right? There's a person that I go back and forth with online, right? It's in a troll group on Facebook, and his number one favorite thing to call someone is a cultist lemming. And he's like, and that's what he calls us. He says, oh, you guys love Cittadini, you guys are cultist lemmings. And I'm like, listen.
Jimmy, one more time. What does he say?
If Trump doesn't get prosecuted, his favorite line is calling people on the right cultist lemmings, which I think is a great word to actually call them, a cultist lemming. So because at the end of the day, they refuse to believe, they refuse to look at anything coming out of those families, any wrongdoing by those families, and I think that is the issue. The issue is they're more like a cult than a right. Talking about the uneducated crazies that they always get on TV. No disrespect to the people on the forefront of people on the right, but they on TV they're always going to show you some guy foaming out of his mouth with a MAGA hat on that doesn't represent all of us, and that's the same thing.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'm not sure if you heard about the news, but this was I'm going to close it out here soon, guys, because I got to get going here, and tremendous amount of editing into this audio, which I think we kind of made up for the glitch from Restream. Love you, Restream, but you picked a hell of a day to do software upgrading. Thank you very much. You damn near killed my video podcast, but we're going to do some magic to make this into a semi-audio video podcast on Rumble. Because I think the audience deserves it. But, Jimmy, if you caught the latest coming out of that Mar-a-Lago saga, this was coming out from a Trump attorney, Rudy Giuliani, just coming out yesterday and saying this yesterday, that, and I quote, that it took the DOJ and FBI 9 hours to raid, right, first time in American history to raid a former president on documents that were unsealed by the former president himself and his legal team back in June. There's nothing on this president. I don't know why they're pressing this issue. I don't know why they're continuing it. It's becoming, like Trump said, and I'm going to quote again, another fucking witch hunt. That's what it's coming down to.
Yeah, well, Jimmy, you mentioned like Hillary. She literally took a hammer to devices and destroyed evidence that was under subpoena. They won't hold her accountable. And you mentioned our founders never foresaw career politicians. And Mike, you mentioned a time machine. If I could go back in time to tell our founders one thing they must change about the Constitution and put in, it would be term limits, because you're right. They never foresaw the day of career politicians.
Yeah, I mean, you labeled it right. Right about this time of the show, guys. Normally, we do this on our video podcasting. We created a special segment here for Jimmy here because, like I've mentioned on the show many times, I love giving people the floor and their viewpoint. But this is a special time here we want to put on the show here, which I was gonna introduced tonight on Restream on our video podcasting. But Jimmy here, I want to give your final thoughts. This is Jimmy's final thoughts here on the show. Jimmy, close us out, buddy. What do you think? What's going to happen here right around the midterms going into 2024? What do you see, buddy?
Well, right now you see, hopefully we're going to see a lot of Republican wins in those seats. I think that a lot of people have watched and seen how incompetent this administration is now. The president's incompetent. So if you're not looking at the fact that they're propping our president up and seeing that that's an issue, then I don't know, you may have to reevaluate it. But as far as with Trump, I would say that it is becoming a witch hunt. And I think that a lot of other politicians know how dangerous this is too. The fact that the alphabet boys are becoming politicized and picking a side, because the problem is if you don't want Trump to win, the fact is one of his foundations he's running on is that he's running against the corrupt government. So if they don't find anything and they don't convict him and he's allowed to run, this is only going to strengthen his run for the 2024 election. This is only going to strengthen his resolution. And I think that he has an extremely strong chance of winning, especially if he's running against Biden again, which I doubt, because at this point he's like 2 steps away from being in a wheelchair eating pudding and applesauce at this point. And listen, I won't even take away from the guy. I know people love it. They think that I'm going to trash these guys. If you put Biden up against himself 20 years ago, a very well-spoken guy, very well. He played the
without a doubt,
part.
yeah.
He played the political part right, but listen, there's something about him that just doesn't fit right with me on a personal level. His family issues that he has home. Remember, while they're sitting and raiding Trump's home, right, in Mar-a-Lago, his son gets to ride on Air Force One at our expense, at the taxpayers' expense. A huge crackhead whose favorite thing to do is to whip out 20 cameras anytime he's smoking a rock and hanging out with hookers. And you mean to tell me that that's not a national security interest? Some people,
Jimmy, you mentioned it. You mentioned it, good guys, and I'm going to close it out here. Jimmy, I mean, you said it right. I mean, no one wants to talk about the Hunter laptop. No one wants to talk about Hunter smoking crack and having sex with hookers and this and that. No one wants to do that because it's not the media narrative that was shown yesterday, where the author Michael Wolff literally slammed Mr. Potato Head, Brian Stelter, for being dishonest about not calling out what he should be calling out. So I tip over to Michael Wolff, which is not even a man that favors conservatism. That was I just posted that on my social media earlier today about the author Michael Wolff, slamming their CNN's Mr. Potato Head.
Well,
exactly here, and by the way, folks, there is still authorities, still FBI agents right in front of Mar-a-Lago. I mean, I happen to reside now only about 45, or I'm over-exaggerating, about maybe an hour and a half from Palm Beach, so not too far. Still cops there, still in front of his residence. It's a sham. It really is.
Well, I'll tell you this. sorry about that, Joe. Let me get this out real quick. I will tell you this, right? Our government, and think of it like this, and people, they scream conspiracy because they don't want to think rationally about it. But our government is willing to raid the former president's house and unseal exactly what they're looking for and tell us what they're looking for, right? Tell us classified documents, whatnot. But they will not release the Epstein fucking file that literally should be throwing in jail or indicting hundreds of upper echelon and upper class people, royalty in some countries, political figures in others, entertainers. So can you blame us for not trusting the government when they say that they're raiding Trump's house and they're looking for something? For a federal judge to make that decision and say, well, we don't think that this is sensitive information, and we don't think the American people should be privy to it. But if Trump took a shit and wiped 2 times and not 3 times, that would make the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, well, Mike, you mentioned Wolf. Well, Bill Maher, who's not loved by the left anymore, occasionally speaks the truth and agrees with Jimmy too. Trump was on the decline and DeSantis on the rise, and Bill Maher says they just handed Donald Trump the 2024 nomination for the GOP and likely the presidential win in 2024 by this continued overreach. And
but Joseph, by a landslide. I mean, yeah. By a landslide.
You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, you can't make it up. I mean, it's simple as potatoes and gravy, right? However you see it on the dish. Joseph, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for devoting almost 2.5 hours. Thank you, buddy. It's been a really interesting conversation with you. I'm out of words. I know Jimmy is probably still full of energy here, and he's only been on us about maybe 30 minutes, going 20 minutes, if that. But
I hope we still have some listeners yet. And Jimmy missed the part where we were joking about a 2.5-hour show earlier. I was on a podcast, literally the person's initial first launch podcast episode, and spent
his pilot,
hours.
Yeah, the pilot episode, 2.5 hours. I mean, you literally probably gave him his first set of audience. I mean, that's crazy.
So hopefully we still have some audience left on this show.
We do. We do. It's reaching people. I just, like I mentioned, Jimmy probably just hearing this for the first time. I actually had a gentleman that literally called into an automated blog that I have online, and once you call in, you hear my automated voice, and he spilled his heart out. Literally a guy, Jimmy, that's and I posted this with the graphics and everything on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Where he's literally biking around the country for homeless vets, and he's trying to get some money together to put these vets into tiny homes. I mean, hearing this, I was like, wow.
Yeah, I was listening to it, and I would say that that's a noble cause, and I wish him the best of luck. Unfortunately for him, he's got to fight through all the hurdles when it comes to the cities and the government with that. It's never that easy, but don't give up the fight, brother, and keep the cause going. And I hope he makes it to where he wants to make it and raises to what he wants to raise.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying he was going from Indiana to Missouri, and then he's going back down to Florida, and I'm like, wow. I'm listening to it. I'm like, wow. After I listened to the recording, of course, and then, when the recording comes in, I listened to that, and I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, I got to get the graphics, put the recording into the graphics, because I mean, it was a tremendous recording, where the show is reaching. I never thought, guys, as I close it out, I never thought in my wildest dreams that, a podcast such as this, it reaches people, it motivates people, it touches hearts of hundreds of people, and it's tremendous. And you know, I know it's going places, and I'm so ecstatic to where it's going, and I'm really ecstatic to Jimmy. Jimmy's about to start his own show, his own content, and I wish him the best of luck. And he's right about there. I always ask Jimmy, you're right there, right, buddy? You're almost ready to start.
I'm almost there. I'm toggling whether to keep the name I had or actually I might change it to something a little more personal. Let's see.
Yeah, well, we can't wait for the official launch and the official first pilot episode. It's going to be rather interesting. I can't wait to see, the content behind the mic of Jimmy here. It's gonna be really special.
Yeah,
it really is.
I'd like to throw one thing out here since we're
Joseph, if you want to close out any information about where they can find you, because we got to wrap it up here, buddy.
Yeah. Well, we were joking about going so long, and if there's any listeners left. So as a reward, if you're still listening, Savage Unfiltered exclusive, as a joke, if you're still listening, I will create, when we hang up, a discount called Overtime. Since we've gone into overtime on the show. If you go to terrorstrikes.info/buy, use code overtime, I'll give you 20% off my book.
Holy shit, what a deal.
That is a deal.
That's a deal of a lifetime, Joseph.
We got
deal of a lifetime.
Got to reward the audience that hung in with us.
I'm telling you, Joseph, I'm going to close it out here because I really have to get going, guys. If you haven't read Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You by Joseph here, M. Leonard, you have to. I'm not just saying it to hype his book up. I'm really saying it. The book goes into great detail. I've mentioned this earlier in the show. Joseph can vouch for me. And Jimmy, you're probably just hearing it for the first time. I've read the book 3 times. Guys, you have to read this book more than once, because to really understand it and fully understand it, you got to read it more than once, because Joseph goes into extreme detail. Let's just say extreme detail. It's a book for just about anybody out there. But I do want to warn the folks out there, it does express some mature content. So please, if you're gonna buy the book, please be over 18. Please be over 18, because the book does resemble a lot of mature content. With that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Joseph, for coming on to the panel tonight with that 2 hour and 30-minute mark. Really great episode. Thank you, Jimmy, for joining us into the 2 hour mark. An honor, buddy. And thank you very much, guys. If you want to listen to this podcast, you can follow it on Spotify, Google, Apple, or Amazon Music, as well as Alexa. And guys, hit that like and follow button on TikTok. We're damn near reaching 1,000 followers. Thank you very much, TikTok. I never thought it would reach that. Almost about a month and 1 week into it, and we're up to 885 followers. So thank you very much, TikTok. Much appreciation. Guys, I'm closing it out. I'm tired. Take it easy.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Love you, brothers. Thank you.